Probably they want to talk a little bit about tariffs, but I won't mention that. We won't bring that up. But you might want to be discussing that a little bit. Very important that we take out the nuclear threat from Iran, and we've done that very strongly, very powerfully. We've wiped out their Navy, wiped out their military in every aspect. Their Air Force is now decimated. They have no Air Force, no Navy. Their radar is entirely gone. Their anti-aircraft machinery is gone. Everything is gone. Their leaders are gone. I guess their top person was, they say, a lot of people say their actual top was killed yesterday, along with somebody else who was responsible for the killing. The man that was responsible for the killing of 32,000 people over the last 2 weeks, he was in charge of the killing of protesters. It's an evil group. I mean, they've killed much more than 32,000 people. And the man who was responsible for that was also killed yesterday. And all of the NATO allies agreed with us. But they don't want to, despite the fact that we help them so much, we have thousands of soldiers in different countries all over the world, and they don't want to help us, which is amazing. I mean, amazing. They would have had a nuclear weapon within 1 month of when we had the B-2 bombers bomb the nuclear potential. I call it the nuclear dust. So I think NATO's making a very foolish mistake, and I've long said that I wonder whether or not NATO would ever be there for us. So this was a great test, because we don't need them, but they should have been there. Didn't have to be there for Ukraine. Biden chose to spend hundreds of billions of dollars on Ukraine. Nobody wants to have Iran, or anybody, but nobody wants to have Iran with a nuclear, because these people are crazy. They're absolutely crazy, and they're vicious, violent. Now I hear it's about 41,000 people. They put out a notice 2 days ago. Anybody that protests will be immediately shot and killed. That's pretty tough stuff. Well, he'll be out of office very soon, so we'll have to see.
Are you disappointed about that?
No. Planning Commission is
I have not heard that. No.
Planning Commission.
I mean, the course was built and it's been operated very successfully. Somebody's objecting. An environmental group is objecting to small snails at Doonbeg. I don't know. It doesn't sound like the biggest problem I've ever had. But we've had great support from the Middle East. Qatar has been great. UAE has been they've been great. Saudi Arabia has been terrific. Bahrain has been very good. The Middle Eastern countries have been very strong in their support. And of course, Israel has been our partner. Israel's been very, very strong along with us. I was against Iran long before I even thought about Israel being against Iran. If you look back, many years ago, I talked about Iran was a big threat to this country, to this world of ours, and turned out to be, I was right. 48 years they've been bad players, vicious players, and you can't let them have a nuclear weapon. If they got a nuclear weapon, I would say they would have used it within 24 hours after having it. And they would have had it if we didn't bomb them out on that great raid with the B-2 bombers 8 months ago or so. You would have had a nuclear war in the Middle East and maybe beyond. I think it would have hit Europe. Maybe not Ireland, but it would have hit Europe. I think you would have been a nice piece of it. It's big enough that you would have been affected. They would have hit Europe eventually.
Mr. President.
I read his statement. I always thought he was a nice guy, but I always thought he was weak on security, very weak on security. But when I read his statement, I realized that it's a good thing that he's out, because he said that Iran was not a threat. They were, if we didn't do the attack, or if, I'll go a step further, if I didn't terminate the Iran nuclear deal given to us, one of the worst deals ever made by Barack Hussein Obama. Remember when they sent Boeing 757s over there, loaded with cash? Hundreds of millions of dollars in a Boeing 57. I think they had 2 of them loaded. They took the seats out and they put cash. And it was so much that there wasn't a bank in Virginia, Maryland, or D.C. that had any money left. They stripped them of all their money, put it into place, sent it to Iran, almost as ransom. That's not going to happen with Trump. Can you imagine if I did that? If I didn't terminate Obama's horrible deal that he made, the Iran nuclear deal, you would have had a nuclear war 4 years ago. You would have had nuclear holocaust, and you would have had it again if we didn't bomb the site. I don't need Congress for that decision, as you probably know. I can make that decision myself. Frankly, Ukraine would have been over the first day. It was our equipment. given by Sleepy Joe Biden. No charge. Hundreds of billions of dollars of the best equipment in the world. Well, he hasn't been supportive, and I think it's a big mistake. You know, they make a lot of money on trade with the United States. But no, I was disappointed because Keir was willing to send 2 aircraft carriers after we won, because essentially there's no threat for the aircraft carriers right now. And I said, no, we want things sent before the war, not after the war is won. So, yeah, I'm disappointed with Keir. I like him. I think he's a nice man, but I'm disappointed. The late, great Winston Churchill and Barack Hussein Obama did not want his bust in this office. Did you know that? And Barack Hussein Obama sent that bust back to England. They didn't want it. I said, absolutely, I want it. And I put it right there, Winston Churchill. And, you know, unfortunately, Keir is not Winston Churchill.
Do you have confidence?
No, hold it. Right.
Just could I?
Hold it. And the best testament to that is the windmills are made in China, but China doesn't use them. You know what China uses? They're building 58 coal-fired plants right now, and that's up to them. I'm proudly telling you that we're going to try and have no windmills built in the United States during my... Because they're very bad. His immigration policy is a disaster, and his energy policy is a disaster. And they're about the biggest policies you can have. You've allowed millions and millions and millions of people to come into your country that shouldn't be there. And you better do something about immigration, and you better do something about energy, or you won't have a Europe. And as soon as that war's over, which will be soon, your prices are going to drop like a rock. You watch. I've been very good at predicting it.
Prime Minister, Mr. President,
the Irish president has said that your war against Iran is illegal.
Who said that?
The Irish president.
Look, he's lucky I exist. That's all I can say. Because if you're going to allow countries that are sick and demented, and they are demented, to have nuclear weapons, everybody in the whole world should be very thankful. And I'm disappointed in NATO, very disappointed. I'm disappointed in a couple of other countries too. But they should be very thankful that this group of people feels the way we do. If we didn't stop them, I stopped them twice. I stopped them my first term when I terminated the Iran nuclear deal, which was Barack Obama's deal. It was one of maybe the worst deal I've ever seen. Well, the BBC was incredible. What they did is they had me speaking something I never said. And I've never seen anything quite like it. But BBC took it a step further. They actually they put words in my mouth, and I said some pretty bad things. And I didn't say them. It was AI generated. And I said, I never said that. In fact, some of my people said, wow, that was pretty bad stuff you said. I said, what did I say? And then we found out it was AI generated. And they admit they made a mistake, BBC. And if you watch BBC, it's almost like they're fighting us to a draw. They're not fighting us to a draw. It was fake news. So I'm very proud of the term fake news because it was my term. I came up with it, but it's no longer accurate. It's not just fake. It's beyond fake. It's really criminal what they do. So we brought a lawsuit against them. They admit they're guilty, but we'll see how it comes out.